The Pacific Palisades fire, which, if the insane news cycle buried it from your memory, began on January 7th, 2025, and caused massive destruction across the Pacific Palisades, Topanga, and Malibu, with nearly every structure north of Sunset Boulevard in Pacific Palisades being obliterated, causing severe air pollution in Los Angeles. The crisis was compounded by water supply issues, as 20% of fire hydrants in the more elevated parts of Pacific Palisades ran dry. The containment efforts reached only 8% by January 31st of 2025 after 24 days of battling an inferno that 7 months later is still being investigated as arson. In the aftermath, Governor Gavin Newsom signed Senate Bill 549 into law. This legislation grants Los Angeles County the authority to purchase fire-destroyed lots at minimal cost, a decision that directly contradicts Newsom's previous statements to homeowners that government-driven property conversions would not occur.
I was just talking to Josh Green, the governor of down in Hawaii, who had some ideas around some land use concerns he has around speculators coming in, buying up properties, and the like. So we're already working with our legal teams to move those things forward, and we'll be presenting those in a matter of days, not just weeks.
The bill mandates that from January 2026, 40% of the housing in affected areas must be affordable, and it establishes a, quote, resilient rebuilding authority, end quote, that overrides local community decisions on rebuilding efforts. This strips away local control, likely displacing original homeowners who don't fall under the criteria of Section 8 recipients, and enables rezoning without their input.
The people that are in charge of this bill, they're the people in charge of letting the whole town burn down, okay? You can say whatever you want, but all their decisions, all their negligence, all that, that's why we have no town in the Palisades. Why will we ever have them in charge of rebuilding what they let burn down?
With SB 549, the authority can buy back land and offer it first to original owners. But if they cannot afford it, they lose their homes permanently, setting the table for Smart LA 2028, led by the City of Los Angeles' Information Technology Agency, a government technocracy that is building the 2028 Olympics on the charred remains of its citizens' homes.
Technology enables the City of LA to efficiently and ethically improve the quality of life for our residents, businesses, and visitors. In other words, when done right, technology makes us smarter. That's why the City of Los Angeles strives to be a smart city. And there's never been a more important time for Los Angeles to be smart than now, as we prepare to host the world in the 2028 Summer Olympics and Paralympics.
Meanwhile, the LA Rises public outreach campaign, launched by the survivors to support recovery efforts, is undermined by Newsom's policy shifts, which prioritize government control over the restoration of homeowner rights and local autonomy.
What they're proposing is a separate government entity to be comprised of political appointees, not people elected by you, who would have centralized authority over construction permitting, development, land acquisition, and other key decisions that will shape the future of the Palisades.
In this brave new world, the people of Pacific Palisades are not rebuilding their lives. They are being rebuilt by a government that ignored their cries for help and sees opportunity in their suffering, an opportunity with motive.
It's like California is being run by a criminal operation, and the goal is the biggest land grab in the history of the United States of America.
But the question isn't whether this was planned, it's whether the people of California will stand idly by as their homes, their rights, and their futures are consumed by the same fire that started it all. Their time to take a stand is today, and it isn't tomorrow. John Bound reporting for InfoWars.
Welcome to the show. It is August 29th, 2025, and Friday Night Live. Thank you for being here. I want to make sure that everyone can hear me okay. I hope you can hear me. I'm going to double check it because, new system. Oh, shit. Just want to make sure you can hear me. If you can hear me, hit me in the comments. Say, hey, yeah, I got you. And we can continue on here. Yep, we're good. Okay. So you can hear me. So we're good. Welcome to the show. I got a hell of a broadcast for you. We've done a super deep dive on a whole bunch of stuff in the last 4 or 5 days on really a lot of different things going on. Our media has been shadowed over by this trans shooting, and I have about 35 clips we're going to get to tonight. I'm going to do my best to get to all of it. Some of the stuff that's going on is like Gavin Newsom. He's on his campaign tour right now. He's started now. He's running around talking about how he's talking about all the stuff that Trump's this and that and the other thing, while he's $200 billion in the hole in California. He's done all this stuff. He's burnt down areas. They've never done anything to fix any of the structural areas before, because like we've talked about this a ton, and I don't want to bore you with the details of my home state, but we're going to get into Gavin Newsom a little bit. He's running for president. If you don't know what he's done to California, let me explain it to you. First of all, what Gavin Newsom has done to California has completely destroyed it. So, all over the country, I'd be willing to bet that your fuel, gasoline, is probably somewhere around $2.60, $2.75. We're at least $4 a gallon. That's wonderful gas tax that Gavin Newsom put on us for our, to beautify our roads, as he calls it, and all of our roads are shot to hell. Just one thing, just one little thing. I was a contractor for many years, and one of the things about me being a contractor is, I had 25 employees. I had 8 trucks. I had a big shop, warehouse, all this stuff for all my, I was a construction contractor, and it cost me so much to operate. I was like, I can't do this, because it was like, by the time I paid for everything, supplies, obviously fuel, employees, taxes, what's it called? Employee taxes and insurances and everything, I barely made enough money to survive, and I had a family to feed. So I, chose to do something different. And it really was sad, because had I been able to stay in that, because I made it through the whole recession, the 08 crash. I made it through all the foreclosures and all that stuff. And then as it started coming out, we started getting outbid by illegals, Russians, Mexican, all these different people that were here. They sleep 10 to a house, 15 to a house, and they just come and they work for cheap. And I just couldn't contend with it. Well, as you know, California is a sanctuary state. Another big problem with California is that. But besides that, what Gavin Newsom has done, while he's running around with his good-looking hair and his waving hands and his shaking shoulders, is completely destroyed California. I mean, a beautiful state, man. I mean, the countryside here is just beautiful, but it costs so much to live here. If I didn't have family here, my wife, my brothers and sisters, they all moved out, but my wife and all her family and all that stuff. So we're here, we're anchored down. So we've had to make do with what we could. The same house that I paid, $550,000 for, And, when I bought it, which was a while back, in Texas or in, Arkansas or any of those other states would have been about 250,000. So it's double. So we just have a lot of problems here, and I will do everything in my power to not have Gavin Newsom be the president of these United States of America. And so we're going to get into this right now. He's on this tour where he's going around talking about, how Trump is, Trump's economy and yada, yada. We're going to get into it. And you listen to what he says about it, and then we'll come back and we'll discuss it after we do this. But that bill, SB 549 from that video, tells you a lot about what's going on in California. They've burnt down Palisades. And by the way, if maybe you're in another country, because we are worldwide, with the internet, we're worldwide. We reach a lot of different people all over the United States and Canada and all these other countries, and just to be clear, the Palisades was all the movie stars, all the high top lawyers in Southern California. And that's what that was that burnt down. And with the exception of, and I've done a little bit of research on this, with the exception of people that had, lots of money and was able to push their weight around with cash, they've been able to rebuild, outskirts. But for the most part, the Palisades is leveled, and they're trying to buy it, sell it to China and all this stuff. We've talked about this for weeks and weeks and weeks. We've covered this, and Pratt, who is on a serious take Gavin Newsom out, politically, he's, big movie star, back in the day. And, Mel Gibson, all these different people, all these different, movie people, people that were in show business or whatever they're doing. I don't know. All are working together, and we'll cover it right now in a minute, to make sure that Gavin Newsom does not get in the White House. He's not going to get in the White House, and all these high power attorneys are fighting this. And so we're going to see, and that's the other part we're going to cover here in a minute, just giving you a little roundup on what it is, or, set it up for you. Kamala Harris has said that she's not going to be the governor of California. She's not going to be governor of California, because she's going to run as president again in 2028. We know she got smoked and all that stuff. But so if they can steal enough votes, right, that they can win, the way they always do, by stealing it. So let's get into it. Stand by. Sorry for that long monologue, but hey, let's get to it, okay?
Stop. I don't think Donald Trump wants another election. I have 24 Trump 2028 hats. His folks keep sending me.
And you think he's going to run again?
No, don't give me. Who spends $200 million on a ballroom at their home and then leaves the house? This is serious, guys. This is serious.
So it'll be Newsom Trump in 28.
No. This guy doesn't believe in free, fair elections. He tried to wreck this country. Were you there, January 6th? I mean, he tried to light democracy on fire. He dialed for almost 12,000 votes. Now he's doing it in plain sight. And people said, oh, just Trump being Trump. You will lose your country. Again, it's not about Democrats. It's about all of us.
So you're absolutely convinced he's...
I'm absolutely convinced.
2028.
You've seen it. He tried to steal the last election. He's trying to rig it in plain sight. I'm on the...
Tonight, Governor Gavin Newsom is ramping up the state's law enforcement presence in cities across California, including in Sacramento and the Central Valley. It comes days after the president announced he's doing something similar with federal law enforcement in cities across the country.
KCRA 3 Capitol correspondent Ashley Zavala explains why the governor says he's taking this latest action. This is the latest move by Governor Gavin Newsom in which he either mirrors or mimics President Donald Trump. The governor, though, adamant that this announcement specifically is not in response to the president. Reporters on Thursday shuffled into an unusual spot for Governor Newsom's press conference, his office.
Thanks, everybody, for taking the time to be here.
Journalists crammed together in front of his desk, similar to an image you'd see from President Trump's Oval Office.
That we're going to be expanding this operation.
The governor announcing he's stepping up the state's law enforcement presence in major cities across California to crack down on crime. Days after President Donald Trump said he'd do something similar with federal officers in cities across the country.
So we're not reacting and responding to anything, quite the contrary.
The governor said it's to build on public safety work his administration has been doing since he took office. But the announcement and the setting, the latest that appeared to taunt the president and Republicans.
Just look at the murder rate. That's nearly 4 times higher than California's in Louisiana.
It comes as Newsom has been mocking the president on social media, and his campaign launched a new online store that sells Trump-themed merchandise.
Governor, you've talked about putting the mirror up to the Trump administration.
I asked if this is all connected.
We've been at this, as you know. We've been to all these events for months and months. And I think we kicked this off with the AG, a few years back. And to build on what we're doing, yes, to extend that narrative, to expand our successful programs, to acknowledge we have work to do. Not suggesting otherwise, but also acknowledge that this country needs to wake up to what's going on, and not just the authoritarian tendencies, but the authoritarian actions by this president. This cannot be normalized. And yes, so I'm highlighting some just blatant hypocrisy. Yes, we're putting a mirror up to the lunacy that is Trump's tweets and his grift.
I think he just wakes up every day to try to figure out how he can wiggle his way in to become the president of the United States.
Republican State Senator Tony Strickland said Newsom is too focused on national issues. He said before making this announcement, the governor should have fully funded Proposition 36, approved to crack down on repeat thieves and drug dealers.
We don't want repeat offenders. We want money for probation and accountability, and that's what he doesn't have in this program.
It's not clear how soon or in which ways specifically Californians could see this ramped up presence of California Highway Patrol officers. They did say, though, that those teams are being assembled now. Reporting at the state capitol, Ashley Zavala, KCRA 3 News.
Well, we reached out to the president and the White House for comment on this story, but we have yet to hear back.
Yeah, so you see what's going on here, right? You see the whole, and KCRA, they did a pretty good job of laying it out for you. Like, instead of, the normal media that you get from like international news, the mainstream media, KCRA kind of put it out there like Gavin Newsom is following Trump's, what do you call it? Label or whatever, to appeal to people like Trump has the red and white hat, all these different, because Trump has all the different types of flags and hats and shirts and all that stuff. And Gavin Newsom's decided that, and you hear he's saying, "Oh, we're not talking about that. We're not." You heard the first clip where he's talking about, "Oh, so it's going to be Trump 2028 and Newsom," and he kind of just brushes it off like he's not running for president, which tells you everything you need to know. This dude is on his campaign run right now, getting started 4 years early, 3.5 years early, and he's on it. And he cannot win a presidency the way he's doing it. Everything he does is about bashing Trump for everything that he's done. And we've covered this recently. And what we've done is, we've kind of laid it out, tariffs and, the tax cuts and all the things that Trump's doing. And, I'll tell you, there's things that I love about Trump that he's done really good in his administration, especially the RFK stuff we're going to get to a little bit later. And Tulsi Gabbard, ODNA, what she's doing. Great, man. Just amazing stuff. And there's other things that Trump needs to really take a look at. And I think they are. I think that there's so many things going on at once. Some other things take more precedence over things that need to be handled, Epstein stuff, all those different things that kind of got brushed to the side or whatever's happened. People are really not that happy. His polls are down. They keep going down because he's not attacking these certain issues. But as far as like the tariffs and tax cuts and all these different things, he's doing a great job. Now, Gavin Newsom is a slime ball, and I'm gonna show you why. Whatever the other side. This is the left side of it. Gavin Newsom, having a press conference in his office, which he's never done. He's usually out in front of the state capitol or in some assembly room somewhere at the podium, but instead he did a round table like Trump does, because he's trying to mimic what Trump's doing. And KCRA really laid that out pretty good, and how they're representing how he's being. And they even asked him about it, and he kind of was like, no, we're just concerned about the world, or concerned about the country, or whatever. And so let's play these two back to back, and then we'll be right back. Shocking stuff, though, for sure. What you're going to see in the next 3.5 years with Gavin Newsom is going to be something. But I think what's going to happen is when you get the other side of this, these two clips, you're going to be like, oh, so they're coming after him with both barrels politically. Stand by.
Now Spencer Pratt has put Newsom on notice, telling him you're never going to be president, that he has nothing but time for the next 3 years to ensure that it doesn't happen. His team of 70 lawyers, these are his neighbors whose houses burned too, in case you didn't know. They're all working together, and Newsom is the spokesperson for the whole operation. They found the office of the first partner, who is run by Newsom's wife. So instead of clearing the brush in Topanga, they would have prevented the fires in the Palisades. They donated their money to themselves. Over $5 million has been donated to the office of the first partner. Again, that's his wife and him. They've been stealing from California. This is just the beginning. This is why I think all of a sudden we have Harris coming out of nowhere saying she's not going to be the governor. She's actually going to run for president, because at the end of this, Newsom could be done. If they are able to get all the information on Newsom out, he may be done. And I love that he told him, dude, I'll make sure you never become president, because it's that whole team of lawyers saying, we'll make sure you'll never become president.
We're not allowing props today, Mr. DeMaio.
Then why have you become props to Governor Gavin Newsom's presidential campaign? That is what SB 280 is, an unnecessary special election at a cost of $250 million. Why? Because his campaign for president has been going down in flames, and he needs something to prop up his chances. Make no mistake about it, this is a political stunt, an unnecessary, costly special election, because Gavin Newsom needs chum in the water for political attention. You know it, and I know it, and you're allowing state taxpayer money to be used for it, because you have no problem spending precious, scarce state tax dollars in the middle of a budget crisis. You say that we have to defend dollars for California, but you have wantonly wasted money, for example, giving free health care to illegal immigrants at the cost of $10 billion and counting. $250 million applied to our state budget may not make up for your multi-billion-dollar deficit, but it's a start. You know what $250 million would do? It would fully fund Prop 36 so that we could give power and tools to the prosecutors and the law enforcement agencies to arrest and punish criminals. Voters voted for Prop 36, but you refused to fund it. From the party that says, let the voters decide and let's do what the voters want. Baloney. You do what you want. Might makes right. And that's exactly what you've done for the last 72 hours by trampling over constitutional provisions and violating House rules. And you talk about a fair election, SB 280 shortens the timeline necessary for an election, but because You have an urgency clause there, might makes right. You change election law. And now you're going to slap a misleading ballot title on. You can't even win based on the truth. You say you trust the voters, but you don't trust them enough to tell them the truth. Because your ballot measure title, because we've seen it, we've seen your polling that the DCCC or someone paid for, retains the Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission. Are you proud of yourselves? Retains the Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission. You are eviscerating that commission. You are nullifying that commission. You are suspending the voice of the citizens and what they decided to grab the power back for yourself. And don't for a moment call it temporary. You know darn well that this is permanent. You will never give the power back to the people once you.
And DeMayo's right. They'll never give it back once they get it. And that's how Democrats operate. They will tell you this is temporary just so that we can accomplish something, and then it never goes back. Look at what they do with the Patriot Act. Democrats are horrible, and I don't know if it was Republican or Democrat or both that did the Patriot Act, but when you think about this, what he's talking about is how Gavin Newsom, there's this bill, SB 280, and it's about redistricting, and they're trying to have a emergency election, waiving all the the time restraints because it's critical, whatever he said there, and they're rushing it so they can get it handled right away because of what happened in Texas. Obviously, the 5 seats that we got in Texas. So they're rushing this to get this pushed through so that they can redistrict California. They're going to have a vote in California about redistricting to see if that's what the voters want. And that would have been fine if that's what they were doing, but they're, lying to the people. And that's what Democrats do. They lie to the people. They tell you that they're doing this thing for this reason, but that's like when you vote and on these ballots in California, when you probably all over the United States, but when you vote, there'll be a bill, and it'll be worded in a way to where you think you're voting for something that you want to vote for. Come to find out, it's the exact opposite because the way they write it's deceiving, and that's what he's talking about. Gavin Newsom and his cronies over there at the governor's office is doing this stuff against the people, and we need to really be paying attention to this. It's just like that bill 495 that they were at the Capitol on the 19th about, that one where you don't even have to have any proof of that it's your kid. You can just go take the kid out of school because they're saying it's for the illegal aliens because we're a sanctuary state, and to protect the children. But what it is, it's what is it? It's what are we going to call it? We're going to call it sex trafficking, human trafficking, right? Anyway, so yeah. So we're going to be talking about this quite a bit in the days to come and the weeks to come, because this is a very important topic. Gavin Newsom being governor is bad enough. Him being president will really be another, I don't know, Obama retake. You know what I mean? That's exactly what it'd be. It'd be another, got all the right words while they're stabbing you in the back. That's exactly what it'll be with Gavin Newsom for president. So I hope everybody's paying attention right now. That's what I have to say. All right, so all right, I'm gonna regroup a little bit. I have this video. It's about 10 minutes long, and it's a breakdown. I'm gonna do it last. We're gonna go through this stuff about this shooting. The shooting. My chair is so uncomfortable tonight. We're gonna go over this the shooting of that Catholic school where 2 people were killed, 19 injured, 3 adults. I think it was, 17, 14 children were injured, 3 adults, and 2 children, 8 and 10, were murdered at a Catholic school while they were in mass and praying. And so, if you haven't seen much about this, maybe you have, maybe you haven't. This is has the MK Ultra all over it. This kid, man, was just mentally ill. He was his mom helped him change his name when he was 17. This is what I found out so far through my investigation work, or I don't know, my digging through videos and all that kind of stuff. He's 17 years old, changed his name from Robert to Robin. Kind of has this psychotic thing going on. And I have a 10-minute clip or 11-minute clip. I'm not going to play it. We're gonna play the other clips that we have with some short excerpts in it. I'm not gonna do the full 10-minute clip where he's showing all the weapons and all the book with and Russian and all these different things. We're not gonna play that full clip. I'm not gonna do that. But at the end, I want to play this. It's about 10 minutes. Matt Bracken breaks it down exactly what it is from a position of what it looks like looking at it, from not from a position of like some kid killed a bunch of people or injured and shot up a school and all that stuff, but from a position of what it is, like what the I don't know how to say it exactly. It'll come to me in a minute, but let's get into this. So things to note: the kid's trans, hopped up on gender bending medication, dysphoria, confused. Mom and dad are supporting this kid to be on this medication. And first of all, I was thinking about how to do this delicately. There's no easy, delicate way for me to do this. So when you are a male and you're taking estrogen in large amounts to change your gender, it causes you to be psychotic. That's just the truth. And so in this this manifesto that he has, he's talking about the fact that he wishes that he would have never transitioned and that he can never be a woman, but he's changed his name, and along with the psychotic stuff that he talks about in this video, he's talking about how he wishes he wouldn't have transitioned. Now, do you hold the parents responsible for this? Or do you hold the doctors responsible for this? Or, who do you hold responsible for these children that do this and become psychotic? That's the best way to put it, right? He literally says, basically, the hell with, paraphrasing, basically, I'm going to kill these kids, and then I have this revolver, and it's for me to kill myself. He says it in the video. I'm not going to play all that stuff tonight. I might pull clips of it and play it on a separate stream, but I'm not going to do that for the sake of time. But let's get into this. I have a bunch of stuff around this. We're just going to get as much of this out of the way, and then we're going to break it down as we go. Okay? All right. Bear with me. Stand by. Okay. Start.
Suicidal transgender who hates Trump's Christians and Jews shoots up kids at a Catholic school, and the media wants to take away your handgun. So how are we supposed to protect ourselves from trans shooters? The media is bad at pattern recognition. We aren't. Just 2 years ago, another trans 20-something walked into a Christian school in Nashville with a rifle and shot 3 kids and 3 adults. They buried the manifesto and locked down the case. We've seen trans shootings in Colorado and in Maryland. They even shot up an ICE facility in Texas. And it seems like half of Antifa's trans. A couple of they-thems just got popped for firebombing Teslas. The mayor of Minneapolis says, you can't say that.
Anybody who is using this as an opportunity to villainize our trans community or any other community out there has lost their sense of common humanity. We should not be operating out of a place of hate for anyone. We should be operating from a place of love for our kids.
I don't hate anyone who thinks they're trans. I feel sorry for them. But statistically, the trans population has been prone to violence. That's not villainizing, that's reality. And if you can't recognize reality, you're in danger. We love the American people, especially American children. And if they're troubled and believe they're somehow a girl trapped in a boy's body, we want to get them help. We don't want to give them hormones and operate on them. Society shouldn't be trying to produce more trans kids. We shouldn't be encouraging an emotional disorder or whatever this is. And doctors should stop profiting from it. Great Britain ended child sex change surgeries. They said it's barbaric, and they're right. And politicians should stop elevating the trans issue like it's the civil rights struggle of the 21st century. You see it all over Minneapolis.
Minneapolis will continue to be a safe haven for our trans community.
For being a safe haven for transgender individuals.
We have sued them for gender affirming care. Yes, we are not going to scapegoat our transgender community.
When our children tell us who they are, it is our job as grown-ups to listen and to believe them.
So when your 9-year-old tells you he's a horse, do you let him sleep out in the barn and eat hay? What are we doing here? Just a few years ago, the psychiatric community classified transgenderism as a mental illness. Then doctors went woke and removed it as a condition, and now millions of young Americans are identifying themselves as trans and getting high fives. When someone has an illness, we should treat it instead of affirm it. We don't celebrate schizophrenia. We don't encourage depression. Teenagers are confused. Sometimes these things are just a phase. And if they're not, all right, then a grown man can wear a dress. If he wants to do that in America, he has that right. We're a pretty darn tolerant society. But the left's weaponizing trans kids and turning them into culture warriors. And they've been turned loose against the church, schools, and Trump. You see it, I see it. The trans clan has a militant wing, and it's out for blood. They're taking lives, defiling churches, and freaking everybody out. And some politicians are doing more to protect shooters like Westman than soft targets like schools. In 2023, private schools in Minnesota begged Governor Walz to fund more school safety. They told him it was an urgent and critical need. Minnesota had an $18 billion budget surplus, but the governor didn't do it. Instead, he turned Minnesota into a trans sanctuary. And his attorney general, Keith Ellison, sued Trump so they can keep castrating little boys. Tim Walz failed. Our leaders keep failing us. They failed us during COVID, on trade, on immigration. They say they care about kids, but they locked them down and oversaw an obesity and chronic disease epidemic. And now there's a growing trans epidemic, and they won't even admit it. Just like crime. They created a crisis and then lie about it and blame you for not being compassionate. But their fake compassion is getting people killed.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's a pretty good breakdown of it when you look at it in a way of this trans cult thing that's going on is very, I don't know the right way to say it. I guess it would be that I want to say it's brainwashing, but it really isn't brainwashing. It's more about like I don't think it's necessarily brainwashing. I think it's more about this culture in these cities where it's like cool to be someone that you're not, right? So I guess maybe on one level it is brainwashing, but on another level it's just sickness. It's like mental illness. It's just mental illness. Let's catch this second. Let me see. Let me It was funny that Jake Tapper the first day he came out and called this shooter a man, and then the next day he walked it back to say that he's a girl when he's a guy, even though his name's changed. He's still a guy because he's born in a man's body. It's just weird shit. It's psycho. Anyway, check this one out. We have 1, 2, 3. We have a bunch of these, but we'll just go down the line.
Okay. All right. That's it. It's time. It's time to have the conversation. There it is right there. Annunciation, Catholic Church, mass shooting. The shooter is a biological male transgender. It is time to admit the truth that Christianity and the church is under attack. It's time to admit the truth that trans violence against the church, something must be done about it. We had 8 and 10-year-olds praying in mass in the pews become martyrs today for their faith. That's what we had today. Trans violence is not only a mental illness, I believe it's demonic possession. I believe it is demonic possession. You go in there, you shoot a bunch of kids en masse praying, then you shoot yourself. This is absolutely the work of the devil. This is absolutely the evil one coming against the church. It is not a coincidence to me that we're seeing a skyrocketing rise in young men specifically joining the church, specifically and ironically the Catholic Church. Enough's enough. Protect our churches. Put more guns at the churches. Stop making churches an easy target for these demonic, evil people. Christians, we have to stand up. Do you understand? Do you understand? We have an obligation to stand firm in our faith for the Lord and to protect the most innocent among us. It is absolutely tragic. It is absolutely horrible. More information is coming out about the shooter now, but just again, obvious attack against the church, obvious attack against parishioners, obvious attacks from the devil, the evil one. Absolutely terrible. Something has to be done.
I should a follower in California reach out and let me know that her daughter had to fill out a mental health accommodation form declaring that she had a mental health issue for, get this, not wanting to share the restroom, locker room, bathroom with a boy. Let that really, really sink in. In California, if you're a girl who doesn't want to use, a high school, middle school age girl, if you don't want to have to use the restroom next to a boy or forcibly undress next to a boy, that makes you mentally deranged. Not the boy who wants to be in that space, the boy declaring himself to be something that he's not. No, that's totally sane, totally sound in the mind, but you are the one with a mental health issue. Here's a photo of the mental health accommodation request. You can see it right at the top. This happened in the Temecula Valley Unified School District. Go ahead and give me a lobotomy. If that's the standard for being mentally deranged, is believing that girls' bathrooms are only for girls and vice versa, give me the lobotomy.
Yeah, so I want to throw the Riley Gaines in there just because this is the thing. Okay, so he explained it where I couldn't really grasp the words at the moment, and I probably need some more methylene blue. But this is the thing: demonic, um, demonic thinking, demonic, devil, demon. That's what it is. It's like a cult. It's like, could you imagine if it was your kids? If it was your kid doing that, your kid being in the middle of something like that, could you imagine what it would be like for you if it was your kid? I have a person, friend. No, not now. I'm online. We just got invaded by the 7-year-old. I have a friend, and we're going to get into these other parts of this where we talk about how we stopped the cover up. And I wanted to set this up this way before we talk about the cover up. Before I do, I want to talk about this. So I have a friend, and it's, she's, a liberal Democrat, and she's got a daughter that wanted to change her name to something else. I don't know, spark plug or something, whatever. And I'm like, why would you even, why would you even like bring it into your mind that that's a good idea, to a beautiful young lady, all of a sudden, going to these liberal schools, being taught this new thinking, demonic type thinking, to where she wants to be something else, non-binary, whatever it is. I don't, there's like 72 genders, all that stuff, right? And I'm like, why would you even like go with this? Why is it a thing that you're even willing to do this? And the next thing you know, I'm like, I see these posts on like Facebook or whatever. I'm not really on Facebook, but these posts on like Facebook where, the trans flag and he and all this, and I'm just like, this is the thing. The parents are at fault as much as the community of teachers and professors and, whoever that's going along with this idea that you can change your gender. You're born the gender that you are, and no matter how many surgeries you have or whatever, can you change it? No, when you're 18 and you want to do some shit like that, great. Go live your life, do whatever you want. I'm not like a phobic. That's not my thing. What I'm talking about is these young kids. We're talking about a 12-year-old girl that was saying this stuff. And then, and I'm like, okay, this is just a fad. This is gonna pass in time. I was talking to her dad, and I'm like, this is gonna pass. It's just a fad. Don't let her do the hormones or whatever that is. Don't let her start taking this medication. And I gave him some details about what I've learned in the last 5 years about the gender bending, medications also. And then a few years goes by, and now this little girl, she's now gothic, right? Now she's gothic. She's okay with being called a girl now, but she's got like enough black mascara on her face. I mean, I don't even know. It's just like, what happened to these kids? What has happened to these kids that their brains are so screwed up that this is okay? Like when my daughter was young, she wasn't even allowed to look at makeup, nothing. You know what I mean? Like I'd let her after about I think she was 14 or something. I was like, okay, you can have lip gloss. That's it. You know what I mean? And you know, it's just being wholesome, being a good parent. You know, you let your kids do all the, and you know, and if you're into that and that's great, whatever, okay, understood. I don't agree. That's where I'm at on it. So anyway, I need to say that. Somebody need to hear that probably. I'm a big believer in, you know, and when God calls me to say something, I just say it. Might not be the most popular thing, but I just say it. It gets me in trouble at home, but whatever. Okay. So this thing comes out within minutes. Kyle Seraphin is sending messages to Alex Jones. Alex is live on air, and he's like, "Oh, you got to come on." And then within like, you know, he's getting this information that it's a trans shooter, you know, all this stuff, you know, that the door was blocked, you know, all the different details early on that Kyle Seraphin was getting the information from, you know, basically an active FBI agent that's on scene, knows the details, and telling him because they're trying to cover it up while it started. Like, it's an active shooter. The guy, the kid just, you know, 23-year-old kid just killed himself, shot a couple people, or shot a bunch of people at this church, church school, Catholic school. And you look at the news, they're not even covering it. Because and they were like, it's a transgender, it's you know, it's this, you know, this kid, blah blah blah, and Kyle Seraphin already had all the information, didn't give out the name right away, but all the information, enough information hit the internet like right now, so they couldn't cover up, because you know that's what they did in Tennessee. They covered it up. They didn't let nobody know about the details about what happened with that, and they just buried it. And we never got the truth about any of it, because that's what they do. They just bury it because they don't want people to know that it's a transgender. And I can't think of one school shooting in the last 10 years that wasn't a transgender, confused, satanic cult, MK Ultra kid. I just can't find one. So let me play this clip. So now that you have that, I've set that up for you so you can see it. I have a couple. I tried to boil these down the best I could, but the information is good because they're longer clips. But this thing, if you see what's going on, when you see it and you share this information with people that can't comprehend in their mind that the FBI and the local police, or, you know, whoever is willing to hide stuff from you because you're too stupid to know the truth, because that's what they think. They think you're too stupid to know the truth. When you see this, you're like, no fucking way. Yes way. This is what they do. And they've done it over and over and over and over and over, all the way, you know, all the way back to when, you know, they framed that dude at the Las Vegas shooting. They had eyewitnesses saying that there was shots fired from multiple locations, from a helicopter, all these different things, and they buried it. This is what they do because you're too stupid, too fucking stupid. Yeah, too stupid to know the truth. That's what they think about us. They think that we're too stupid to know the truth. So when you see this, you'll understand. I'm going to play one. It's about how they stopped the cover up minutes after the shooting. They knew the truth, and they got the information on the internet. They got it out, and the alternative media, or, you know, really we are the media now, got the information out, and they couldn't cover it up. They started to try. Oh, we don't know we don't know why this kid shot up a school. We know why the kid shot up a school, because he's satanic, right? He went to this school. just like the Tennessee chick that, you know, which is rare, by the way. That's rare for a female to shoot up a school, even transgender. It's very odd, very rare that happened. That shooter of Tennessee was a female transitioning to a male or whatever. But most of them are trans boys hopped up on psych meds or whatever it is, whatever these different kinds of medications are. And I know I'm going long here, but I just want you to get what I'm talking about, because we all of us, we all need to be aware of what's going on. We need to protect our children. We need to protect our communities. We need to protect our churches. We need to protect the people around us. And the way that we do that, if nothing else, is we give them the information so they have the truth, whether they like it or not. My wife's like, don't talk to me about that shooting. I said, I'm not. And then she kept talking about it. And I'm like, and then I'd give her like a little, little crumb. And she's like, I don't want to talk about it. And I'm like, I'm not, you are. She don't want to hear it because it's too satanic. It's sick. All right. This is a tough one, man. This is a tough one. I'm wound up. The reason why I'm wound up is because children are involved. Children, young children, they won't go home. They're gone behind some crazy, hopped up MK Ultra, sick, crazy person that could have been prevented. I mean, when you see, I'm tempted to play the video, but it's 11 minutes. I'm tempted to play it. Get in the comments. If you want me to play that video, that 11-minute video, I will. Well, I'll have to shut YouTube down because YouTube took it down within, I don't know, right after the shooting, they took it down. They let it go. Another very interesting thing. They let the video stay up. If I say something, like they might say something and take me down just for me saying trans. Okay, they might. Okay, whatever. Maybe not. Probably they don't. They cut you. I mean, a live feed, and I played a clip, and it was when the jihadis were training in I can't remember, Syria, wherever they were training at. And it was just a clip of them carrying rifles over their heads. I don't know if you remember that one. I remember it clearly because it was like a green background. It was just, they had green bandanas on or something like that. I remember very clear. And YouTube cut my feed because they just seen a rifle. So I know that if I put that up, YouTube will take me out. So we'd have to shut the YouTube stream down. But then I could get it across X and Rumble and Getter. I could get it across those, but we know that YouTube's not going to go for that shit. Anyway, hold on. Stand by.
They're going to misrepresent and say it's a Trump supporter with fake info soon or something like that. I understand you're nauseated right now, but you've got the truth. You've got it. You broke it. People cared enough to tell you because they were worried. So I understand that. We are in control of the narrative. We're in control of the truth. It's going to blow up in their face. So I understand that, but just get the info out and attack the enemy with the truth. God bless you.
All right. So about an hour and a half ago, I put out a tweet. This is on X. And the statement was, I'm told the alleged shooter at the Annunciation Catholic School in Minneapolis is a trans-identified male by the name of Robert, a.k.a. Robin Westman. We withheld the name at the time to be able to make sure that the rest of the folks that could figure it out. ID photo showed a white male. You guys have looked. That's the ID photo. That's who we're talking about. This is the person they're looking at. Long hair. Long hair does not make you a girl. And anybody who says otherwise, I can't tell the age on that. But deceased by gunshot wound to self and targeted children. We're seeing some other stuff that says that he had video channels, like so many people, was out there trying to express himself using things like Russian, which I'm told could be used as memes and gamer stuff, but also might mean that he speaks Russian. It's obviously an evolving situation. There are people's babies who will never come home. So that's all disgusting. But all of this reeks of the same evil that comes down from years of it. You can't excuse it. We saw cover-ups. We saw the Justice Department complicit in it under the previous administration, where they did not go and find people from James Revenge who were firebombing churches and abortion crisis centers for people who wanted to have their baby and were worried about it. And so this is the spiritual piece of it. There's a legitimate, obvious connection between targeting specific churches. There's this meme that I remember that somebody said, as a Catholic, we always we don't question it. But whenever you see Hollywood represent the devil and how you fight the devil, it's with the traditional Latin Mass. It's not a coincidence to me that in February of 2023, I exposed that the FBI was targeting traditional Latin Mass Catholics, that they were using it more broadly to go after Christians, no matter what denomination, because the person who saw this and is appalled was not a Catholic and certainly not a Latin Mass Catholic. And then more broadly, all people who hold basic pro-life and conservative values, the things that were mentioned by our FBI, which was just a mouthpiece for something much, much bigger, was saying that conservatives who have a problem with immigration not being completely unfettered and actually closing the border was an issue. And all of those things could make you a white supremacist, that evil thing that says that you're going to be a bigot and that you're going to basically identify people by skin color. This is a very narrow little piece of it. Alex talking about a war fine. This is one of the battles that continues to go on. And it's a narrative battle right now. And that's why people are reaching out and saying, hey, we need to make sure that we have this. And as you've appropriately stated, the audience is actually participating in this today in a way that has not happened. It didn't happen in 2020 because of the censorship. So we've got the freedom of people like Elon Musk who have liberated the ability for people just to say it, even if they don't like what it said. We got to be cautious and judicious with this power to share information because we could have things that were untrue, but never that I can recall since I've been a public figure did one of my people reach out and say this is a 100% fact. And you've got a trans-identified dude who apparently was involved. I've got the mom's social media. We haven't mined it yet, but apparently the mom's social media was out there and she was participating in court cases to help change the name. So this person may have legally changed his name from Robert to Robin, and reaffirming delusion and reaffirming lies is where this comes down. If you tell people things that are not true about themselves, about reality, then they will act like reality is not real. And they will go after people that are the most innocent, that only know about things. They don't know about constructs. Our children, if any of you have them, you know what I'm talking about. Under 10 years old, they're not indoctrinated by societal's ideas that a man could become a woman or a woman could become a man. And, that's an adult idea. And that's why I think kids are always addressed. That's why they're always the target in these things. So you're starting to see some of this stuff flow out. What we're going to see is an evolving situation where a combination of citizen journalist types, which is just to say people who care, and guys like me who have sourcing inside law enforcement, you're going to see law enforcement as well, and you're going to see the machine push back because this is not a comfortable narrative. And nobody wants to go and place the blame on it, but you can see a direct line from lying about reality, not punishing people that were involved in petty crimes. This is more broadly, Alex, if you want to get real specific, the whole idea of broken window pane policing and they have to shut down crime at the local level. I don't think the federal government's the right tool for it. I think it's like a tourniquet on a big bleed. But you have to address small crimes because they become big crimes. People who are doing, wheelie gangs and riding around Baltimore City 13 years ago end up having carjackings in Washington, D.C. And they're the same people that are riding the ATVs around and they all look the same and they all come from the same background. Why? Because small crimes were tolerated. Violence against churches was tolerated under the Biden administration. Zero question about it. People can go to CatholicVote.org and they have an unrequited, unindicted list of Catholic churches that were interrupted and destroyed in mass, and pro-life crisis pregnancy centers that were of all denominations. They weren't just Catholic. They were Christians most broadly who think that abortion is evil and killing babies is evil. And if you think it's okay for them to be killed in the womb, suddenly you find out they don't mind killing them after the fact either. And so, all this stuff is like, it grows out of the father of lies. I'm feeling particularly spiritually connected to this stuff right now. And like I said, the religious nature of it is so obvious when they attack a church. When anybody attacks a church. And there have been hundreds of these things that have happened over the past, let's say, 4 years. And if you don't go after the perpetrators of them, all they do is get emboldened and they do something that's more aggressive. So the men that understand what this is, guys, this is the time. Everybody wants to stay away from violence. Nobody wants to get involved in it. Nobody wants to see that person that lives peacefully with their kids and sits at home and doesn't engage in the conflict part of it. Because if we go get engaged, that's the part where part of yourself is going to have to die. I think that's what men saw in 2020, and that's why they were resistant to speak out in 2021. And that time is over. You have to speak. You have to know things. Thank God there's a couple of people that are willing to come out and speak to me. I'm willing to share it with you. It's not fun. It's not something to be excited about. Like, nobody wants to be the person that breaks this story. Nobody wants to be the person that first says it and puts pressure on. But if we don't put pressure on people, then they don't act. And that's what we've seen. Kash Patel, same story. You showed that. I literally clicked and pulled his press release simply to let him know that people know and you can't hide the narrative. In the same way he lied about reinstating whistleblowers, they're willing to lie about anything because the people that are advising these guys do not have America's best interest at heart. That has nothing to do with the people that are on the street, maybe that are doing an investigation and realize the problem. We found out a lot of people were willing to follow orders in 2020 and 2021. And some people weren't. And those people have paid pretty heavily. Luckily, we had kind of a redemption moment. I would say vindication, but not justice. It wasn't victory yesterday. But, there's movement. Alex is not wrong. There is an undercurrent of movement happening right now. It's really, really heavy. It's weighing on me more than normal. And so anyway, we're going to cut the break for a second here, but that's my thoughts on the matter. This is like the open skirmish that is happening currently right now. And it's on every front, and mostly it feels spiritual.
Yeah. So, when I hear him talk about that now, so mind you, this is like minutes after the shooting, and what they do is they hide it, they collect evidence, they shove it under the rug, they hide it, they don't tell nobody. Everybody always has doubt about what happened, or was it this, was it that? Because what they tried to do, Jake Tapper, one of those nice what, I don't even know, you can't call them journalists, I don't know, show hosts, I guess, I don't know, news reporter, I guess that's what they're called. I think that's what they're called, although they're propagandists. So they basically what they do is they tout propaganda all day long. Started with this he had Trump on his rifle, or Trump on that magazine, whatever it was. And what it was, it said kill Trump, right? But they started out with, it's the first thing they tried to do is push it off like it was a Trump supporter doing this killing or whatever, right? And then what ends up happening is the media blitz got it out there so fast that they couldn't cover it up. And that's what he's talking about. They couldn't cover it up, and more stuff came out, and it just turned into this snowball that got bigger and bigger and bigger. We're talking about within an hour of the shooting, we had more information, or as much information as they had on the ground, because we're getting the information in real time. This is what's important, that we're able to do this. And that's why we are the media now. That's why every person that does this kind of thing that I do, Kyle or Alex or whoever, Nick Sorter or whoever it is, able to get the information out to people so that they don't have doubt about what really happened. So they can't spin the narrative saying it was a Trump supporter or, whatever, because that's what they do. That's how they mix it up. They continuously get people to think that, because I have people in my family that still think that Trump got pissed on in Russia, right? Yeah. Or that he raped, that lady that sued him, that went to a liberal judge, and they said that he was found not it's so fucking weird, found not guilty of raping her, but was found guilty for saying that he didn't do it. And so they bunch of millions of dollars. That's what they do. That's the propaganda. They just keep the propaganda going constantly. And so that's why we do this. That's why I'm here. That's why I have the studio, and I continue to put out the information. You do what you need to do with it. And by the way, subscribe to the channel, share this information, There's open source. What open source means for you that don't know is you can take anything off of any of my videos, any of my shows, any of my broadcasts, and take it, cut it up, make little clips out of it, do whatever you want. Please do that. It's open source. You don't have to ask for permission. You do whatever you want with it. It's open for you. I do this for you. So every bit of information is, please send it to your liberal friends that are, they continuously tell you that you're a racist or whatever it is, whatever the propaganda is that they do. Just please do that. Now, hold on here. Let's see. Oh, I thought YouTube was sending me a notice saying that they cut my stream, but they didn't. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the narrative block. Okay. Again, Kyle Seraphin talking about the narrative block. This is a couple hours later. They're talking about the narrative block, and this is great because it was, and he'll explain it, that how they were already starting their propaganda, and they couldn't do the propaganda because the information was mainstream. It was all over the internet, So hold on, stand by.
This is an epic fail of the system to cover this up. It's going to be a huge scandal. We need to find out who was behind it. And the truth is, we're the media now. We are. I mean, we've been the media for a long time. So you guys said this hour one. I said it as well. But now it's confirmed that their narrative control is blowing in their face. And what are they going to do? And again, this is going to cause more whistleblowers, more people to go to Ed Martin, more grand juries. The worm is turning, but the enemy's very dangerous right now. So who knows what they're going to try to stage.
The New York Post is claiming in their headline that Minneapolis Catholic school gunman ID'd as Robin Westman, as we stated, Robert Westman previously, but it sounds like his mom helped him change his name. While possible manifesto shows psychotic obsession with mass shooters. So that's what it was. It's not anything else. It's not about religion, and it's not about going after children that are at mass, and it's not about people that are so young that they don't know the difference between what a man and a woman is, or that they could be changed. And then you see in the pictures that even the New York Post was putting out there, this kid apparently in his book, which is full of either psychotic ramblings or demonic thoughts. It's got a layout of a church. I recognize it because I go to one that looks like that every day. It's got a bunch of pews in front of it. There's an altar up in the front. There's that's where the Eucharist is kept, and he's got a freaking knife pointed into it. So this is a hate crime, and there's a reason why these things have been ignored, because it's convenient to ignore them.
In the last 4 hours, we just went through a historical moment when it comes to free press versus institutional cover-up. I'll say it like that. I think that's a good, simple way to put it. You just witnessed a paramount moment. I felt it an hour ago when I said it. Now it's totally confirmed. We just went through a paramount moment where the institutional cover-up has been beaten by free independent press. Unbelievable stuff. God bless your sources. God bless Kyle Seraphin. God bless InfoWars. Unbelievable victory today.
They failed the cover-up today faster than ever. As Owen said earlier, you used to fight them for years on a cover-up. We always win. Now we win in hours, thanks to Kyle Seraphin and sources. Their cover-up failed in hours today. That has got to scare the system. This is historic. But we do have to investigate. And yeah, it's a victory for the truth. So sad for the kids. Two separate things. But they are failing instantly because of human intelligence and all the billions of people that are out there tracking all this. And stuff is just flooding out now that people were able to grab, as Kyle said, before they deleted it. And now it's going to blow up 10 times bigger because of the Streisand effect.
Yeah, so, very interesting that the way that whole little clip there where it wrote on the map, it's satanic cultism. And I don't know really if the MK Ultra part is the writing in Russian, or if that's, I don't know that much about that, but it's like the messaging, right? And so Matt Bracken breaks it down. It's a long clip, but I'm just going to play it. You know, I think that it's important that we get this information out just the way it is. And I'm probably going to get nuked on YouTube, but oh well, we'll get nuked, right? So I think it's important that we do this. Now, Matt Bracken breaks it down from a different perspective on like the like instead of like what happened, more in the way of like why it happened and what that kind of messaging is. So stand by. We'll just run with this. Bear with me. This one's a longer clip, but we're just going to roll with it.
Spun up, and reasonably so. I've really enjoyed watching Alex do the deep dive into the background of all these shooters, their connections to MK Ultra. They all seem to be operating on a kind of a similar wavelength with their relatives involved in various government programs. But who knows? Obviously, I think it's we're seeing a real battle of good and evil here. Besides possible government connections to different programs, I think that for sure we're seeing a battle of just pure good and evil. We're seeing demonic forces in action. You know, this Robert Westman, the drawings that he made himself, looking into the mirror and using Russian. I mean, it's like he's modeling The Exorcist, speaking in tongues. He's not actually speaking in Russian, writing in Russian. He's using mostly some Russian phrases, but he's using English transliterated with Cyrillic. But it seems very much like something out of The Exorcist, speaking to the demon through the mirror. And I forget who I saw this week, but somebody I read said, if you have a body without a consciousness, without a soul, a consciousness without a body is going to find you. And that's a demon that needs a body. And this is something new that he did. And he's a student of mass shooters. You can see as he's turning the pages, he was smart. He did that so that people could screen capture his notebook because he knew it would be taken down very quickly. The mosque shooter in New Zealand a couple of years ago, he live streamed it. Audrey Hale in Nashville, the manifesto was suppressed. Her notebook was at home, so they hid it. This time, he didn't want it to be hidden, so he put it on YouTube so that people could screen capture it. This was very smart. This is a high IQ individual, but without a soul, obviously twisted. His parents, I think, really deserve more than blame. I think that they should in some way be, if not charged criminally, I think that they should go down in history as accessories before the crimes, because they did everything they could to wind him up instead of giving him the treatment that they needed and saying, look, I'm sorry, you are a boy, you'll get through this. This process of affirming, quote unquote, mentally ill, gender dysphoric youth, it's just setting them on this path. And there you go. You see him speaking in the mirror to the devil. I mean, if that's not demonic possession, I can't imagine what is. I mean, it's so planned out. This was a church he'd been in many times. He graduated from this school. His mother retired from this school. He brought boards to put through the handles on the outside of doors to block exits. And it's a miracle that he didn't get inside of the sanctuary of the church and slaughter children. He had hundreds of rounds of ammunition. I mean, it's a miracle only 2 died in this process. Really, it is. If he had gotten inside, he could have set the record. And that's something that we've seen over and over again in their manifestos. These killers say that they want to set the record, that to become the most infamous mass killer, they have to kill more children in a more innocent setting, to put themselves at the top of the list. so that they're not just, in the top 20. They want to be the number one. That's a new form of immortality that didn't really exist before. This new form of immortality is, I'll be dead, my body will be dead, but my message and my face and my voice will live on forever on the internet. Nobody before thought of doing a murder so that maybe there'd be somebody doing clippings in a newspaper. And I love that movie, Conspiracy Theory. Alex just showed clips from it. That's only from the 90s. And the Mel Gibson character in that book, he has to have clippings from newspapers and magazines like pinned on the wall. There's not much immortality if you're just relying on some fans clipping out newspaper, clippings and putting them into a scrapbook. But if you can be immortalized on the internet, then you don't really die. I mean, this is for somebody with no soul, for somebody who hates God. This is the closest thing that they can get to immortality. And I think that it's a big mistake to actually, use his name and put up his face, because it just encourages more killers like him. And there are already people out there that are going to, take note of everything that he did. He obviously copied using the white marker on the black weapons from the New Zealand mosque shooter. And I'm surprised he didn't live stream it. But, he did right before the shooting, upload the YouTube video in a format where the pages could be screen captured and the FBI couldn't hide the manifesto. So expect these high intelligence mass shooters to learn from each one, and the next guy will probably live stream it. I mean, it's a really sick process. And I don't know where it's going to go next, but we've discussed before things like the Las Vegas shooting. There's a lot of room for people to do other types of mass shootings other than going into a school or a church like this. And I in the state of Florida, you can't bring guns near schools. A lot of the churches are associated with schools, but I know for a fact a lot of people are just going to be carrying into church now, and some of the men are going to have to stay outside or in the rear vestibules, because we can expect this kind of behavior to be copycatted. And I'd hate to think of somebody like him being successful. And I wish we could blot out his name and blot out his face, because he is being rewarded in hell, or wherever what he has of a soul is located now. His immortality today is that he's being spoken of and shown on the internet, which is really a shame. But the people that are behind this are extremely demonic also. And it's interesting. One of the families that's very key in this, it's also associated with the National Guard story, with Trump talking about sending troops into Chicago. J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, I'm not sure how much he spent to become governor, but it was something like a presidential election quantity of money. The guy is worth almost $4 billion that he inherited. It's not his, he didn't earn it. He is worth $4 billion. And his cousin is somebody named Jennifer Pritzker, who was born as a man and changed his name from James to Jennifer, also worth, in the billions of dollars, is one of the main funders of all of these sex mutilation, child mutilation clinics, giving grants, funding hospital programs and clinics, experimenting on children that have obviously very sick parents, woke parents suffering with Munchausen by proxy, to the extent that they'll have offered their children like sacrifices to Moloch to convince their children or convince themselves in the names of their helpless children that their children are trans, like the actress Charlize Theron, who has adopted children and then dresses little boys as girls. I mean, this is really sick and evil. This is a Hollywood culture and a Democrat political culture. And I think that we're really tearing the veil off of it this week because they were not able to suppress the manifesto, partly by the actions of the killer, loading the notebook quickly onto YouTube. That was a kind of a gift to us in order to study this, but it can't be suppressed, and it's really just showing how the media is able to live in a complete pretend world. Even on Fox, only on maybe one or two shows have they discussed the trans angle. They're still acting like they don't know why it happened.
Yeah. So I think I covered it, but the MK Ultra thing is something that is what my understanding, the way I see it, is these satanic cultish people will wind up these kids to do these things. I mean, the kid actually came out and said that he wished that he hadn't transitioned or didn't, that he could never become a woman and all that stuff in his writings there, in his and so somehow this kid got pumped up into this thing with, sounds like medication. I mean, more will come out about it in the days to come about because now that it's not hidden, now that it's out in the open, it's available for everybody to see the manifesto and all that stuff and all the things that really happened with this kid. Really, he's a kid, 20, 23 years old or something like that, 22, 23 years old. People are going to be able to see, even though they've scrubbed his platforms and stuff. I'm sure they're all gone now, but there's still. What happened is as soon as this happened, alternative media, if you want to call it that, or independent media, went in there and grabbed all the information before they could take it down. All the information got grabbed before they could take it down. So that's why you're going to start seeing little pieces of it. And that's what Seraphim was talking about. More stuff's going to come out because they were on it so quick that they were able to get the information. So what I'm saying is more is going to be revealed about this. But I mean, can you just imagine if it was your kid? Can you just imagine? Either side, your kid's confused, hopped up on medications, SSRIs, whatever it is, or your kid's in church at school praying and gets killed. I mean, it's just, man, it's something that needs to really be expressed that this is going on. And like Matt Bracken's talking about, we really need to be paying attention to our surroundings. And I've said it for a long time and all over the internet right now. All over the internet, you have these liberal whack jobs, these satanic cult members talking about doing more right now on the internet. I mean, I just, in the last, I was listening to Matt Bracken, I was looking at a couple channels, and it's like video after video after video of these people talking about, like basically they're, saying that, this killer is some kind of a, big deal and, like pumping it up like he's did this great thing, killed kids. Anyway, all right, so we're gonna move on. Okay. Give me a second. Okay, so did you know that when you have people that are armed in areas, it's 48% less likely to have crime. Did you know that? Did you know that the statistics are so much better when you have people, you know, that can protect the community? Did you know that? Now, the left will tell you that, you know, any gun is danger and, you know, and the only way to protect us is to take the guns and all that stuff. Well, I want you to listen to this lady. She just breaks it down for us a little bit. We're gonna shelf that other topic for a while, and we'll get back to it next week. And I'll get some information, and I'll get some of those clips. I'll pull some clips out of that that 11 minutes, so we can kind of get an idea of what the mental state, which we know that the mental state of this kid, you know, this young adult. But we're just gonna put a pin in it for now. Listen to this.
This is freaking huge. Armed citizens stopped 48% of all criminal shooters last year, and the FBI was just caught massively lying about those numbers in their public reports. They recorded, get this, none of them. 0%. Now, you and I and everyone else have seen those local heroes on social media, but rarely do we ever see these stories in mainstream media. Well, the script is about to flip because a new study by the Crime Prevention Research Center reveals that armed civilians stopped over 1/3 of active criminal shooters between 2014 and 2024, nearly 10 times higher than FBI's reported 3.7% average. And again, with even more Americans getting armed post 2020, just last year alone in 2024, civilians stopped half of all criminal shooters. Yet, as I just stated, the FBI recorded 0 of them. You might be asking, how is this possible? Well, while digging for the study, researchers found that police were often falsely credited instead of the armed civilian, which is a recording pattern that clearly increased over the last 10 years. Now, this begs the question, why would they work so hard to hide the significant benefits of an armed public?
Our system is reactive. Something bad happens, we react to it. And what people are crying for now is, how can we prevent this? How can we stop it? And the only way to stop it is to identify the shooter ahead of time or keep the weapons out of their hands. And so we're going to have a conversation of freedom versus protecting children. I mean, how many school shootings does it take before we're going to have a conversation about keeping firearms out? It's always a young white male, almost always. I mean, did anyone this morning think, I wonder if that was a female? Did any of y'all think that? I mean, there's been one school shooting involving a female. One. Yeah, Tennessee. But other than that, it is usually young white males.
Yeah, Trey Gowdy. It was a transgender dude, by the way, and it was not the gun's fault. Stand by.
I'm going to call it for what it is. These career corrupt politicians, these are globalists. They don't serve us. They pretend to serve us. They serve a globalist ideal. And with that globalist ideal, the United States cannot be intact for them to move forward. It's always been about your guns. Always been about your guns. Now, they're not going to be able to forcefully come and get your guns. I would love to see them roll into LA and try to take everyone's guns, right? They know they can't physically come for your guns. So what they're going to do is they're going to get you into your feelings. See, these career corrupt politicians, especially on the left, they utilize these special interest groups and they hide behind them until they've served their purpose. And then they ditch them, kind of like BLM. These same career corrupt politicians are demonizing police, giving lighter sentences to dangerous individuals. They are letting them out on the streets and they are telling you guns are the problem. No. No. They want your guns. These same individuals that are preaching gun control, the same individuals that are radicalizing mentally ill individuals. And these same mentally ill individuals are going out and they're conducting these heinous crimes. Now, they're not going to point the fingers at them themselves. They're going to turn, oh, it's the gun. No, it's not. It's the evil behind the gun. It is what it is. They want your guns. They're going to utilize whatever they can to get them. This is not England. This is not Australia. We have the right. It's in our Constitution, and it's not for hunting. So I say, come and take them if you think you can.
Yeah, so Trey Gowdy, that dude, man, that's one of those squish Republicans or whatever the hell, Fox News contributor, whatever the hell he is now. Why do they go right after the guns instead of looking at, like, maybe we shouldn't give these kids drugs to bend their gender? Like, I don't know. Do you think that's the thing? Do you think that it's a good idea to give a boy hopped up a bunch of estrogen or whatever it is that they're giving them, and probably some SSRIs, some different types of psychotics with that, because, and then, they give you one drug and then they give you 4 other drugs to counteract that drug to give you another drug to that, you know what I mean? It's just, man, come on. Trey Gowdy, you're a fucking idiot. Okay. All right. So we got to move a little fast here, because I spent a whole bunch of time on those couple topics. Now, do you love? But subscribe to the channel. If you want to support us, I'm gonna put a. You could go to the alexjonesstore.com/Inspector Web, and you could support us. If you want to know how to support us, we could really use the support to continue to do what we're doing. I think over the years that I've been doing this, I've gotten quite a bit better at what I'm doing here. Any kind of help really does help us. If you go to the alexjonesstore.com/Inspector Web, you can go and you get the same discounts that I would get when I go on there and order products, which methylene blue and all the different things, and t-shirts, like this one. This is one of the shirts right here. Your support's greatly appreciated. For all those of you, I get a 10% cut. And by the way, most things on the Alex Jones store is 40% off right off the bat. And right now, until tonight at midnight, if you go on there and they're raffling off a truck, I think it's some badass Jeep pickup, sick, and 10,000 cash, and they're giving 50% more entries until midnight tonight. So you got about an hour, because I think they're going to be running on Central Time. So you have about 20 minutes. So now would be a good time to go to the alexjonesstore.com/Inspector Web, support the channel. All right, we're moving on. Now let me ask you, do you just absolutely love what ODNI is doing? Director Gabbard. I mean, she is really both barrels coming out with stuff. And this one right here, although people like me, that's consumed with news, if my eyes are open, I'm consuming my head with news. It's just what I do, to the point to where I dream about it. But my point is not that. My point is Obama being the ringleader for the coup against America. Really, it's against America. Yeah, we could say that it's a Russian hoax. It's the this, it's the that. It's transgender. We know that, Michelle's a dude, all the different things. But what Obama has done since he came out of nowhere, it really came out of nowhere, and he became president because he was a sharp talker, dressed proper, all that stuff. And he was able to get in, and he's been the orchestrator of everything that's happened over the last 15, 20 years. Really, it happened in 15. The spying on Trump and all that stuff. He's been the orchestrator of all of it, every bit of it. And the information, the fucking details, the truth is coming out. They're finding this stuff hidden in safes and stuff like this, and burn bags, different things like that. Now, I don't know, I can't swear to it that that's happening, but I can say that the information that's coming out it's confirmation about what we already knew. But for someone that might not know, maybe you just roll across a podcast or a show or a broadcast or whatever, maybe you see little clips on the internet and you don't know everything that's going on. They are really, really, really getting to some really good, solid, indictable information. Check this out.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. At President Trump's direction and with the support and coordination with the House Intelligence Committee Chairman Rick Crawford, today we've released a declassified Oversight Majority Staff report that was produced in September of 2020. The stunning revelations that we are releasing today should be of concern to every American. This is not about Democrats or Republicans. This has to do with the integrity of our democratic republic and American voters having faith that the votes cast will count. There is irrefutable evidence that detail how President Obama and his national security team directed the creation of an intelligence community assessment that they knew was false. They knew it would promote this contrived narrative that Russia interfered in the 2016 election to help President Trump win, selling it to the American people as though it were true. It wasn't. The report that we released today shows in great detail how they carried this out. They manufactured findings from shoddy sources. They suppressed evidence and credible intelligence that disproved their false claims. They disobeyed traditional tradecraft intelligence community standards and withheld the truth from the American people. In doing so, they conspired to subvert the will of the American people who elected Donald Trump in that election in November of 2016. They worked with their partners in the media to promote this lie, ultimately to undermine the legitimacy of President Trump and launching what would be a years-long coup against him and his administration. We're here today because the American people deserve the truth, they deserve accountability, and they deserve justice. The records that we released on Friday that were ODNI records, Senator Chuck Grassley's release on Monday of what is known as the Clinton Annex, which was an appendix to the Department of Justice Office of Inspector General's 2018 report, as well as the House Intelligence Committee's majority oversight report that we're releasing today, all come back to and confirm the same report. There was a gross politicization and manipulation of intelligence by the Obama administration intended to delegitimize President Trump even before he was inaugurated, ultimately usurping the will of the American people.
It's great news. What are they going to do about it, right? That's the thing. What are they going to do about it? Are we really going to see indictments? Are we really going to see them impeach Obama and Joe Biden and then try them for treason or conspiracy or whatever? That's what needs to happen. See, what needs to happen in these situations is they need to just do it. They need to get Obama. They need to get Hillary. They need to get Clapper, Comer, Comey, Brennan, Rice. They need to just indict them all, get them all in court and see what happens, because we have to do something, because in about less than a year and a half, we're going to be in another election. And if something isn't happening, if they don't take care of this stuff, we'll be lucky if we hold the House and the Senate. And and as you know from previous administration, if you don't have the House right now, with everything, we have the House, the White House, the House of Representatives, and the Senate. We hold the majority at the Supreme Court. We should be just hammered down, balls to the wall, not taking no prisoners and just handling it. And I know that they're doing it in a way to where the stuff sticks, and I get that, but we need action. We need just arrest. We need arrest. So yeah. So yeah, we need arrest. Anyway, okay, so I'm gonna play this. We're gonna cover some headlines, but before we do, we're gonna cover this. Stand by.
President Donald Trump has been racking up a string of jaw-dropping victories at the U.S. Supreme Court, cementing his agenda with a sledgehammer of judicial might that's got the dying liberal establishment reeling.
Trump has now ended the legal status for Haitians, has ended the parole program that also affects enormous numbers of people.
The court's conservative majority has been handing the administration wins that are reshaping the balance of power and dismantling the left's legal roadblocks.
A little over $40 billion was supplied in support through the Loan Program Office in its 15 years of existence, a little over $40 billion, and then almost $100 billion in the 76 days after they lost the election and before President Trump's inauguration. Like, if those were great ideas that were benefit to the America, why didn't they do it in the 2.5 years after the Inflation Reduction Act was passed? Why did they wait till they lost the election?
From immigration to federal workforce cuts to dismantling Marxist subversion tactics, these rulings are a full-throttle endorsement of Trump's bold executive moves, proving he's rewriting the rule book. One of the biggest wins came on June 27th, 2025, when the Supreme Court, in a 6-3 decision penned by Justice Amy Coney Barrett, curbed the ability of the lower court's judges to slap nationwide injunctions on Trump's policies, specifically his executive order to end automatic birthright citizenship. This ruling was a seismic blow to the Soros-fueled left's favorite tactic of judge shopping to stall Trump's agenda. And just to put things in perspective, for the entire 20th century, there were only 27 injunctions by lower courts. And during President Trump's administration, over 100, with 21 states backing the plan. Trump himself called it a monumental victory for the Constitution, and he's not wrong. This is a middle finger to activist judges trying to handcuff the executive branch. The court hadn't stopped there. The judges, in a 5-4 split, allowed the administration to keep deporting alleged Venezuelan gang members under the Alien Enemies Act, though with a caveat that detainees must get notice and a chance to contest their removal. This was a gut punch to the ACLU and other groups trying to block Trump's use of a wartime law to secure the border. The court also greenlit deportations to third countries, like sending migrants to South Sudan, and ended temporary legal protections for hundreds of thousands of migrants on humanitarian grounds. The Supreme Court also ruled that Trump can deport the 500,000 plus Haitians that were granted continued temporary protective status under Joe Biden. Beyond immigration, the court upheld his ban on transgender troops in the military, ruled in favor of religious families opting out of lessons about LGBTQ in schools, and let him fire 2 Democratic members of federal labor boards, and backed his Department of Government Efficiency in 2 disputes. The justices also gave a nod to his cuts in foreign aid payments. These decisions, many coming through the court's shadow docket for emergency rulings, show a judiciary that's done playing nice with the left's obstructionist playbook. And just to add to those wins, after a landmark 4-3 decision on December 22nd, 2023, the Wisconsin Supreme Court struck down the state's Republican-drawn legislative maps, and after a massive mega-donor effort to give Susan Crawford a deciding seat on the court in order to move the gerrymandering towards the Democratic playbook, the liberal Wisconsin Supreme Court declined to redraw the congressional map, and now Democrats have been denied their key pre-2026 power grab. John Bound reporting for InfoWars.
Yeah, so I mean that is some information, right? So the Trump rulings, I just got this message just now. Breaking, I guess it was a few hours ago. Headline news. Federal appeals court rules that most of President Trump's tariffs are illegal. So it's a federal appeals court, so that's the Supreme Court, so I'm sure it goes up to the Supreme Court. Why would they do that? Why would they do that? Why would the Democrats be attempting to stop the United States from doing tariffs against countries that have been robbing us forever? Because they want to take down America. All these Democrats are satanic cult members. So be interesting to see. I'm going to have to look at that a little bit later. I'm going to save that for myself. I'm going to have to check that out later and find out what exactly it says in there. But it says federal appeals court rules, most of President Trump's tariffs are illegal. So we'll see. I'll look at that later. We'll get back to it. Okay, so President Trump, we talked about this last week. Now they're getting booted up to go into 1,700 National Guards going to 19 cities around the United States, and they're some of the Democratic governors or whatever are kind of going like, yeah, we want Trump here. Like, Bowser came out and talked about how Trump's tariffs. We're going to look at. Well, I think I got it here. Maybe I didn't pull it. I don't. Oh yeah, I did. Mayor saying that 87% of carjackings it's dropped 87%. But my point is, I'm getting off track because I'm wound up. 1,700 National Guards being sent to 19 cities. Stand by.
And Pentagon officials are confirming to Fox News 1,700 National Guard troops are set to mobilize in 19 states in the coming weeks as the president continues his crackdown on crime and illegal immigration. Let's go to Lucas Tomlinson. He's live at the White House for us. Lucas.
Good afternoon, John. And the Pentagon says those National Guard troops will be helping process and help deport illegal aliens. And here in the nation's capital, there's over 2,000 National Guardsmen patrolling the streets. And one Republican congressman says this city, the nation's capital, needs cleaning up.
Even with D.C. hooking the books on their crime statistics, you're 3.5 times more likely to be killed in D.C. than you were in 2012 when a serious crime is committed. And from 2018 to 2023, carjackings are up 550%. So things are out of control.
And President Trump says he might deploy the National Guard to other big cities pretty soon.
We're going to make our cities very, very safe. Chicago's a mess. You have an incompetent mayor, grossly incompetent. And we'll straighten that one out probably next. So I think Chicago will be our next, and then we'll help with New York.
Now, last year, John, the murder rate here in D.C. was on par with Chicago and nearly 4 times higher than Los Angeles and nearly 6 times higher than where you are in New York.
Yeah, I'm going to move fast here. So stand by. We're going to cover for some of this stuff real quick, some of these clips, because I got a bunch, and stand by.
Stand
breaking news right now. The Department of Transportation announcing formal action against 3 states for failing to enforce federal English language proficiency requirements for commercial motor vehicle drivers. Listen here.
We've identified several states that have not been in compliance. That would be Washington, California, and New Mexico. Those are the three states that have not complied with this rule. We are going to give these states 30 days to come into compliance with truck drivers speaking proficiently the English language, or we're going to look at federal funding.
Okay, so the reason this is important, Bill, you were with me yesterday. We were talking to the state of Florida because they have just started to require these English language proficiency tests at weigh stations for commercial truck drivers. This after the Indian driver who didn't speak any English killed 3 people in April.
And you were curious kind of how those English tests work. I think you said it's 16 different questions also involving road signs. But yeah, Florida bringing the hammer down. You just heard Sean Duffy say there, if you don't get up to par with this, we're gonna start removing some of your federal funding. And they announced yesterday they're turning all of their weigh stations and agriculture checkpoints into federal immigration enforcement. So any of these like illegal immigrant drivers who are out there with IDs from different states, there's a lot of weigh stations in the state of Florida, and they might start getting caught up soon.
So Sean Duffy just announcing that, and we'll no doubt there'll be more. And I don't know if he will be at the cabinet meeting. That's happening at 11. So this could be a question that the president gets there as well.
Yeah. So that weigh station thing is good because I've been almost run off the road a bunch of times by these big rigs that are running through California. California, Washington, New Mexico, they don't require you to be able to pass a proficiency test to operate a truck, 18-wheeler. So that's interesting. Now, you know, we covered it last week, that guy that made a U-turn in the middle of the freeway, or the highway, and killed 3 people. And this has turned into a big thing. Now they're going all out to get that straightened out, and I think that's great. Now, stand by. I got a couple more of these I want to get through before we do the Soros thing. So stand by.
We've been seeing the governor of Illinois parading out there saying that there's nothing wrong with Chicago. It's a great place to live. There's no crime there. He doesn't need President Trump's help. Well, I think the residents of Chicago beg to differ, and the statistics beg to differ. And I'll just share a few of those statistics with all of you. For 13 consecutive years, Chicago has had the most murders of any U.S. city. This is J.B. Pritzker's legacy, by the way. For 7 consecutive years, Chicago has had the highest murder rate among U.S. cities with more than 1 million people. In 2024, just last year, Chicago's murder rate per capita was 3 times higher than Los Angeles and nearly 5 times higher than New York City. That's more than double the murder rate in Islamabad and nearly 15 times more than Delhi. Out of Chicago's 147,899 reported crimes this year, that's how many crimes have been reported in Chicago since January 1st. There have only been arrests in 16% of them. These numbers are unacceptable. There have been more illegal guns recovered in Chicago than in New York City and Los Angeles combined. The number of reported motor vehicle thefts last year was more than double the number in 2021. And Chicago has also, just like DC, come under scrutiny over discrepancies in its homicide data reporting. So as bad as these numbers are, perhaps they are even worse. And this is Governor Pritzker's legacy. He should put politics aside. He should pick up the phone and call this president, who would be more than happy to do right by law-abiding American residents in the city of Chicago, and we hope that he will.
Yeah, what do you think of her? What do you think about Caroline Leavitt? You think she's doing a good job? I think she's fire breather. I think she's doing a great job. You know, these cities all over the United States, all these liberal cities, most cities in the United States are liberal. And I think that we should clean them up. Now, we talked about this last week. It's a fine line for me about putting federal agents on the streets, you know, checking IDs and doing all that stuff. That's kind of like a police state type thing. But on the flip side of that, it sure would be nice to be able to go downtown and do anything, because like, you can't, because you don't. If you go down there after dark, you need to have your sidearm. I mean, it's just the way it is. I mean, these cities are pretty bad, and so I like that idea. So it's kind of I'm on the fence about it. But if they're doing it just to clean up and then pulling out and not continuing that, I mean, I think if we get the cities clean up, I think I'm on the fence. I'm still on the fence about it. Anyway, so Kathy Hochul came out today or yesterday talking about that she wants the you can't make this shit up. Remember, they have no cash bail, and they're letting all these murderers and rapists and and carjackers and all this stuff out of jail, and then they just reoffend over and over and over. And now all of a sudden, Kathy Hochul's got I don't know if she's running for election or what, but all of a sudden now she's talking about yes, the judges need to do their job and stop letting people out of jail. The laws have changed. They need to abide by what our current laws are. Check this out.
Offender 1,000 times, and you're still not going to be held on bail. That's what I had to change. And so those changes are bearing out. That's why we're showing a decline in all crimes, especially retail theft. So he can misstate the facts, say what he wants to say, but he's wrong. He's wrong. And also, many of the cases he gave examples to, he gave this whole memo of all these examples. Many of the cases were bail eligible, but guess what? The judge decided to do something differently than what the prosecutors had asked for rightfully under the law. So I think the question I have is, come on, judges, you're doing your part here. I need the judges to step up. And I've been surprised at the number of judges who don't seem to know the law has changed. When I read commentary from them on why they did not hold someone on bail who common sense would have said should have been held, but also our laws say should have been held. And so I think there's also a lot of questions that I've had for a long time.
Yeah, okay. So that's interesting because, for the last 4 years, they've been just letting people out of jail and saying, leave our sanctuary cities alone. All of a sudden, now they've changed their tune. I don't know. I'm concerned. I'm very concerned about this on a bigger, on a more of a bigger level of this. With this, for instance, the 1,700 National Guards and all that stuff. My concern with this next clip, especially Muriel Bowser talking about, wanting Trump to come and clean up the city and all that stuff. This is my concern. We've talked about this for a while, that what happens here is they allow them in there, and then there's some massive event that happens, and maybe some illegal aliens get killed. They blame it on Trump. They blame it on the government. They blame it on the feds, or whoever, the National Guard, whoever. That's my big concern, because all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the Democrats have changed their tune to, we want to clean up our cities now, because they've been letting them run wild for 4.5 years. So check this out. Muriel Bowser. Hold on, stand by.
We greatly appreciate the surge of officers that enhance what MPD has been able to do in this city. The most significant thing that we are highlighting today is the area of crime that was most troubling for us in 2023. Now, we have driven it down over the last years, but I'm going to get my glasses so I can make sure I can see it correctly. But for carjackings, the difference between this period, this 20-day period of this federal surge and last year represents a 87% reduction in carjackings in Washington, D.C. We know that when carjackings go down, when the use of gun goes down, when homicide or robbery go down, neighborhoods feel safer and are safer. So this surge has been important to us for that reason.
Yeah, and so again, you can just see I almost want to play that one again. You could see the fakeness on her when she's talking. You can see that this is a she's on stage. How do you say it? Do I need to play it again? I don't want to bore you with playing it again, but she looks fake. She looks like she's reading from a script. She looks like she's saying this stuff like, because I think it's a setup. It's just my opinion. I could be wrong, and I hope I am wrong, but it just seems like all of a sudden they've changed her tune, because it was just last week when she was talking about get out of my city. So, or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. Now all of a sudden she's all for it. So I'm concerned that this is a setup against the federal government, against National Guard, against the Trump administration, to blame them for some event that happens in these cities. So I said it. Hopefully I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. All right. So we all know that George Soros has spent his lifetime destroying America. Just destroying America. Now listen to what he has to say on this little short clip.
In the last 2 years, you've been blamed for financial collapse of Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Japan, and Russia.
All of the above.
All of the above.
I cannot and do not look at the social consequences of what I do.
You're a Hungarian Jew who escaped the Holocaust by posing as a Christian.
Right.
And you watched lots of people get shipped off to the death camps.
Right. I was 14 years old. And I would say that that's when my character was made.
My understanding is that you went out with this protector of yours who swore that you were his adopted godson.
Yes.
Went out, in fact, and helped in the confiscation of property from the Jews.
That's right. Yes.
I mean, that sounds like an experience that would send lots of people to the psychiatric couch for many, many years. Was it difficult?
Not at all. Not at all. Maybe as a child you don't see the connection.
Are you religious?
No.
Do you believe in God?
No. I don't feel guilty because I'm engaged in an amoral activity which is not meant to have anything to do with guilt.
You hear that? Basically, he don't care what it looks like, that he's destroying America, destroying Europe, destroying the world. He doesn't care. Remember, he has talked about, the Holocaust and being over there rounding up, Jews or whoever the hell they were rounding up in that time. And it was his duty to do that, and he has no remorse. He's a satanic cult leader. So, yeah, anyway. All right. So where are we at? We're making pretty good time, I think. Shit. I'm running out of time. All right, let's just get to it here. All right. Stand by. Let me see. I'm going to set this up for you. Kyle Serapin talking about there's a whistleblower exposing that They're using a database to track people. FBI using a database to track people that are, MAGA or Republicans or whatever for future for, I guess, future I don't know how he really said it, but so let's just play it and then we'll talk about it.
I got two stories, and they're different. So lest they got run together. The first one is that I interviewed a guy named Bill Taylor. I think his story is very compelling and interesting. He actually went on Judicial Watch and did a brief touch on it. Quick and dirty on it. He worked at headquarters for a number of years. He was a whistleblower about the FBI basically passing up arrest warrants when they had the ability to arrest Iranians who were in violation of federal law and were in the United States, and they got away because John Kerry and the Obama administration intervened. And so he got, sort of a first slap on the wrist on it. And then he's just a man that knows what's right and knows what's not right. And so even though there was a guy who was a J6er that wanted to kill him and said so and started a conspiracy to kill 35 FBI employees, he heard his boss lie under oath, and he exposed that because perjury is not acceptable, even if you think somebody is evil. So that's the part one. And the second part of it is probably the reason why they're really upset with me right now. If you heard Kash Patel say it on Fox a little while ago, he said he was going to give us transparency on all the sources that were at January 6th. According to the Durham report, there were 26 people that were in the FBI's they weren't employed by, but they were being paid by, and they were being tasked with attendance there. And they had infiltrated all the Patriot groups, so your Proud Boys, your Oath Keepers, and so on and so forth. And so we were supposed to hear the truth about them, and we've heard nothing. And what I have is somebody that has come to me and shared with me that there's a guy named Brian Hefner, and Brian Hefner was previously working out in West Virginia, and he worked on the program that allows the 1-800 tip line to the FBI. And he came up with this genius idea, or maybe he implemented the genius idea, it's hard to say, that they were going to hide all of these 26 sources. They were going to deactivate them and take them out of the FBI's record-keeping system, which is called Delta. And they were going to make them report in through the 1-800 number and then route them back out to their handling agents. So they were officially deactivated, but they were still available for tasking. And what you'd find out then afterwards is that, the next Democrat administration could easily reactivate them. And that guy was then moved, like so many other people we keep finding out, directly into the orbit of Kash Patel. He is the assistant section chief of the protective detail. There are 3 protective details. One runs Pam Bondi's detail. The other one's Kash Patel's, and the last one runs Dan Bongino's. So the people that is in charge of all of their security is apparently the guy who came up with this great idea, and they thought nobody would notice because they've been sending all their people that were doing the stuff that they wanted under the Chris Wray administration, and they sent them scurrying from November to February. And instead of looking at those promotions and being like, hey, all these people that got promoted are suspect because we know that they were like rats, scurrying off a ship. Patel and Bongino didn't even know to ask that question. He didn't even consider whether or not we should start looking at all these promotions, apparently, because they promoted a bunch of people.
So you just found a shadow government nest database system that would try to hide stuff from Congress.
Yeah, they're required to. It's a violation of at least FBI policy, but it's obviously going to be a problem for
Records
the Attorney
Act,
General, but
everything.
It's very likely going to be. Yeah, it's probably a violation of federal law there as well. And so this stuff is.
Well,
and who
Kyle,
you go
you
to
know
if it's
this, but I
your
told you
guys.
this months ago. Because of your courage, you're going to get more and more. I don't know how you're doing as one man. So God bless you. KyleSerafinshow.com. Where else do people find you?
They can find me on Rumble, and they can find me on YouTube, and they can find me on X at Kyle Serafin. It's always the same. It's just my name. Nothing fancy. It's pretty rare that I talk to one of my sources and I say, hey, how good is this intel? They usually go, oh, it's very likely, or it's strong possibility. This is the first time that one of my sources told me something 100%. It never happens. It's 100% confirmed. And so, I had this information seconds after it happens, which is nauseating. And the scariest thing is that they were really worried that this was going to get covered up and that it was going to be shoved under the rug and we weren't going to see the truth about what's going on. And the truth is that, Alex, you and I have talked privately about what the revolution looks like and how funny it is that you've got the name sitting there spinning on a little icon, InfoWars, that this is an information war. Because everybody thought the war was going to look like one thing, right? Everybody thought it was kinetic. And so you have all these pictures. Everybody thought that the war for this country was going to look like what BLM was doing in 2020. And they were tearing up the streets and they were doing, riots. Everybody thought that it was going to be violence in the streets, that it was going to be people uprising and pushing back and burning buildings. And what the war looks like is taking your family to church. And my wife, who grew up in New York, wearing a veil now, having grown up as an atheist and having, she got baptized. You may not know this, Alex, but she got baptized. And that was on Easter Sunday. It was the Easter Vigil going in April of 2022. And on Monday after Easter Sunday, they came and took my badge and my gun. If you think this is not a spiritual thing for some of us that are involved in it, there's too many signs. It continues to reaffirm me that this is just this is basic evil.
Yeah, I wanted to throw that in there. Because this is a spiritual war. Everything that you see that's going on is about this spiritual war. You got all these demonic people, Obama and all those fucking clowns. They pretend like they're doing something great and they're really not. They're just satanic cult members. And so we are in an information war. That's why it's so important that you share this information, that you subscribe to the channel, that you support us any way you can, whether it's just taking clips out and sharing them, or, subscribing to the channel, or sharing that, that, hey, this dude's got this show on Friday night at 8:00 Pacific Standard Time. Check him out. Go watch him, whatever, subscribe to his channel, whatever. I mean, it's so important because what we're doing is it's a revolution unlike any other revolution in the history of the United States. This is not like a shooting war. This is an information war that, if we let them get their propaganda out and cover us up with this propaganda, we'll never be able to make any headway on anything ever. So that's why it's so important that we all come together and we work together to make sure that the right, good information hits the internet instead of the propaganda that we keep getting. We keep getting all this propaganda. Now, so, again, thank you for subscribing to the channel and supporting us at the Alex Jones store, alexjonesstore.com/Inspector Web. Really do appreciate it. Now, I got one more topic that's near and dear to my heart. It really is. And I know that we're running a little bit long today. Bear with me. We're going to do what we can to wrap this up in the next 13 minutes. Now, Arby came out and was talking about the autism rates. And they're shocking. Because remember last month or 2 months ago, they said that they were going to do they've been doing an investigation on autism, and that they were going to have an actual, report on autism and how it is and exactly what it is and all that stuff. And so he put out a report. I got about 5 minutes of it. It was about 10 minutes. I only pulled 5. I have the other 5. I'll probably put it together in something next week. It's kind of nuts and bolts, but this part right here is so important. Because 1 in 12.5% of boys in California are autistic. 1 in 12.5. 1 in 12.5. It was, 20 years ago, it was 1 in, 20,000. Then it was, last year or something, it was 1 in 33. Then it was 1 in 22. And now in California, where they have the best we'll let him say it. He explains it in this clip, but in California, 1 in 12.5 children, boys, young boys, are autistic. I have boys. They're both autistic. One's on the spectrum, Asperger's. They don't call it that anymore. They call it something else. They call it autism, and then I have another one that's autistic in a different way. He's not like the other one. One's, socially, and the other one's more like spun up, wound up, like, hyperactive, and with other things. Anyway, so it's near and dear to me. And what they've done to our children is, I can't put words to it, how hard it is. I mean, the doctor told us early on with my older boy, he's 17, and he's high functioning. It's not like he's a low function. He's high functioning, Asperger's, really smart. Both of them are super smart. My 7-year-old's got 129 IQ. I'm not bragging. It's just the truth. But he's autistic. They're both autistic. Anyway, my point is, they told me and my wife early on, and my ex-wife, because that you'll never be able to change him into what you need to do, how to be with me. I have to adapt to how he is. And I've had to learn how to adapt to how my sons are in different ways. You have to do that with the kids anyway, but this is different. This is like, it's, you have to learn how to work with what you're working with, right? And I've been able to do that. We've done really well with our boys, but this is shocking information. 1 in 12.5 in California. Let's play the clip. Stand by.
I'm going to go over some of the key numbers from the ADDM report. Overall, the autism is increasing in prevalence at an alarming rate. The study tests 8-year-olds who were born in 2014. And by the way, these studies are 2 years later than they should be. And one of the things that we're going to do as we move this function to the Administration for a Healthy America, to the chronic disease, the new chronic disease division, is we are going to have updated real-time data so that people can look at this, so Americans can understand what is happening with chronic disease in this country in real time, and not have to wait 2 years to react. We don't wait 2 years to react to a measles epidemic, and we should not, or any kind of infectious disease. We shouldn't have to do that for diabetes or autism. The ASD prevalence rate in 8-year-olds is now 1 in 31. Shocking. There's an extreme risk for boys. Overall, the risk for boys of getting an autism diagnosis in this country is now 1 in 20. And as high in California, which has the best data collection. So it probably also reflects the national trend, 1 in 12.5 boys. This is part of an unrelenting upward trend. The prevalence 2 years ago was 1 in 36. Since the first ADDM report in 1990, which was 1992 births, autism has increased by a factor of 4.8. That's 480%, I believe. The first ADDM survey was 22 years ago, when prevalence was 1 in 150 children. In all the core states, the trend is consistently upward, and most cases now are severe. So about 25% of the kids who are diagnosed with autism are nonverbal, non-toilet trained, and have other stereotypical features, head banging, tactile and light sensitivities, stimming, toe walking, etc. One of the things that I think that we need to move away from today is this ideology that that the autism diagnosis, that the autism prevalence increases, the relentless increases, are simply artifacts of better diagnoses, better recognition, or changing diagnostic criteria. If you look at Table 3 of the ADDM report, it's clear that the rates are real, that they are increasing in the last 10 years, which is the beginning with the first one. Year by year, there is a steady, relentless increase. I want it because this epidemic denial has become a feature in the mainstream media, and it's based on an industry canard. And obviously, there are people who don't want us to look at environmental exposures. And so I want to just read you some of a little excerpts from some of the older studies. The baseline for autism in this country was established with the biggest, largest epidemiological study in history, a study of all 900,000 children in the state of Wisconsin, children under the age of 12. They found 0.7 children had autism in every 10,000. That's less than 1 in 10,000. Today we're 1 in 31. That study also confirmed the 4-to-1 male to female ratio. There were at that time just over 60 children in Wisconsin with autism. And today it's around 20,000.
Yeah, so I mean, that's shocking information. I mean, the next findings is why. We now know that boys especially have autism at very high rates, obviously 12.5 in California, according to their numbers. Why? We could debate that. I could tell you why. I think it has to do with the early vaccinations that they do for kids before they even 6 months. They have all these vaccinations that they give kids when they're babies. No kid should get a vaccination before they're 5 years old. There's no reason to, but they basically threaten you if you don't get vaccinations when your baby's born. And so it'll be interesting to see what comes from this, because I think RFK is doing great work. He's doing great work. He's done a lot of good work with all the different vaccines, all the kind of medical things, all that stuff. He's done tremendous work. And if Trump didn't do anything at all right, he did this right by putting RFK in there to RFK Jr. to straighten out the medical. I mean, it's amazing. Now, how you say that? Dollar day late, dollar short. I mean, you have all these kids all over America, well, all over the world, that are autistic and have all these different chronic illnesses, and now we want to know why. We want to fix it for the next generation. They're killing our kids. They're killing our generations, ones to come. They're just killing them. Our legacy is, I mean, because if you think about it, I was born in the 60s, and then, between the 60s and 90s, we really didn't have a lot of autism and stuff like that. It wasn't until like the last 20 years, really, that autism became more and more and more prevalent in the United States. And so we'll have to see how this swings and what they do about it, because if nothing else, they need to straighten this out. And I know there's things that you could give your autistic kids to help a little bit, but it's a tough one. It's a really tough one, you know. So anyway, thank you for being here. You know, I want to say thank you. Please subscribe to the channel. I know I keep saying that, but listen, this is the thing, and I wanted to finish this on time. Your support, whether it's sharing this information, subscribing to the channel, Rumble, Getter, X, YouTube, wherever you find me at and you subscribe to the channel, it helps me commenting and all that stuff so I can get my channel out there. I've been doing this almost 5 years, and I had gotten a lot of traction on YouTube, and then they nuked me. And then I got nuked on Twitter, and I never really recovered from that. So I'm asking for a little bit of help. If you could just support the channel any way you can, I really would appreciate it. So thank you for being here. I'll be back next Friday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm going to start probably doing half-hour shows during the week at like 8 p.m. or 7:30 p.m. or something like that. We're going to see how this works out. Just a short, brief, daily, a daily briefing on, current events. More than likely, that's going to start next week. That's what I'm shooting for right now. We're set up. We got everything set up for the most part. We got the other half of the studio done. We're gonna be switching back and forth. I got some different look, stuff like that. We're gonna have some guests on here. I'm still working on getting. We want to do once, and I'm really going over. We're working on getting different things besides just politics in the studio. Like what masculinity or health, or get the doctors back in here, different things like that. We're working on getting a schedule to where, like, once a month we do stuff on men's health, men's masculinity, or different things like that, vitamins, stuff like that. I want to do a show that's separate from politics at least once a month. Okay. And if we start rolling every day, we'll probably do one every other week or something. A show that's not politics, that's about men's health or women's health or different things like that, and so you can look forward to that in the near future. Now that we're set up, it's taken me a while to get where I need to be. Now I want to apologize for the stream last week. My internet kept going out. We got another internet stream thing going on to where we got some boosters so we can get internet out here in the studio. We're really working on making this stream something worth watching. So thank you for being here. God bless everybody. Be safe out there. I want to say, love your children, love your family. Good night.